How you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Today I'm breaking out one of the big guns out of my collection. This is Giant Size X-Men #1. This is the first appearance of the new X-Men. So let's talk about the old X-Men for a second. Is the old X-Men. That's Hank McCoy the Beast. That's Ward Worthington the Angel. Scott Summers Cyclops. Bobby Drake Iceman. And Jean Grey Marvel Girl. Now, we all know that there were a team of teenage kids that Xavier recruited and went to school and became taught them how to use their mutant abilities so they could fight evil mutants like Magneto and such. Now, this group of X-Men, they're not so much kids anymore. Some of them are adults. Like, well, Wolverine is at this point is a mystery. I don't even think the creators knew it, but we all know that Wolverine is like over 100 years old at this point. So the whole teenage superhero thing is kind of out the window. But the X-Men comic was selling really low, and I gotta say it wasn't that great. The old X-Men. There was some good stuff in there, but overall it's kind of dull. So it was going to be canceled, and they decided not to cancel it. Instead, they decided to reprint their old issues. So for like 20 issues, it was just telling old stories, so they didn't have to pay anybody, they didn't have to do anything again, so it was cheap to keep on the stands. So they just put it in. It was already like bi-monthly, and then it was a reprint issue, so it was like just no big deal, and it was a hair's breadth away from being canceled. So then Len Wein and Dave Cockrum got the idea of rebooting it with a new group of heroes. So that's what they did. And they put out Giant Size X-Men #1 with this cover, and it exploded. And within 2 years, it was like Marvel's top-selling comic, and then another 2 or 3 years after that, it was like a phenomenon. So sometimes you take a chance and it pays off. Sometimes you take a chance, it doesn't pay off. But the X-Men were on the verge of forgottenness until this comic came out. So let's just. I'm sure you know these characters, but let's do a rundown. So you have Kurt Wagner, Nightcrawler, James Proudstar, Thunderbird, Peter Rasputin, Colossus. There's Scott Summers, Cyclops again with his new visor, and Aurora Monroe is Storm, and as far as we know, that's Logan, Wolverine. And it's Gil Kane and Dave Cockrum are doing the art for the cover. Wonderful cover. It's been parried and goofed and homaged millions of times. I think this, along with Spider-Man #1 and Superman #1, are probably the most parried. I'd throw Fantastic Four #1 in there. Most parried covers of all time. So let's check out what were they selling back in 1975. What were they selling back in fishing equipment? Early 70s was a different time, more outdoorsy time. So here we have the splash page. As far as I'm concerned, that's a good splash page. For those of you who don't know, a splash page, it's usually, but not always, the first page in a comic, and it's usually one single panel. Okay? Each picture in a comic book is called a panel, and the white that separates the panels are called gutters. I'll point out a gutter in the next one. But here's the credits. We have Len Wein, the writer and editor, Dave Cockrum, the artist. So he's doing the art and the ink. So this is pure Dave Cockrum. The cover was Gil Kane and Dave Cockrum. Glennis Wynn, the colorist, John Costanza, letterer. And this is, as if you couldn't tell, this is old school. So everything was done on pencil, and the coloring was done with brushes and inks. And I just love this. So Len Wein, who is Len Wein? Len Wein is a solid comic book writer. He invented Wolverine, so he brought him into this team. Wolverine at this point was a complete unknown. All they knew is that his name was Wolverine, and that Hulk fought him in Canada. That's like the only two things we know about him. And Len Wein, I think he also created Swamp Thing. Just a great comic book writer. Who's Dave Cockrum? Dave Cockrum is a great artist, great superhero artist. He built his name up, as far as I know, previous to this, working on DC's Legion of Superheroes. And he did a lot of character designs and costume designs. Just look at this. These are all Dave Cockrum designs, with the I think Dave Cockrum also drew the first appearance of... No, that was Herb Trimpe. So, with the exception of Wolverine, Dave Cockrum designed all of these characters. All the costumes, well, these... Okay, I take it back. He designed Storm, Thunderbird, Colossus, and Nightcrawler. Because I forgot. Because Banshee debuted in the earlier X-Men, and so did Sunfire, and then Wolverine debuted in Hulk 181. But this is the first appearance of Storm, Thunderbird, Colossus, and Nightcrawler. And Dave Cockrum designed all their costumes. In fact, Dave Cockrum designed Nightcrawler to be part of the Legion of Superheroes for DC, but I don't know why he wasn't in it. So Dave brought the design over and stuck him in the X-Men, and thank God he did, because I just couldn't picture the X-Men without good old Kurt. So look at these designs, just great designs. And Len and Dave would leave, and then John Byrne would take over the art, with Terry Austin doing the inks, and Chris Claremont would take over the writing. And that was just it. That was just like all the planets aligned, everything worked together, and boom, an American classic. And I would say like part of American history. You know, you can't say that X-Men's not like American culture. So here, the typical assembling the team, you know, like in every origin, we got to put the team together, man. So here is what town is this? Winseldorf, Germany. So here we are in Germany, and they got the torches and the pitchforks, and they're going after poor Kurt, who was working in a carnival at the time. That's why he has that costume. So that's his actual like carnival costume. And he's like running around. What am I doing? He's jumping, escaping. Look, when they're chasing after him, they got the torches. I'm going to go fast because this is a rather large comic, and I don't need a 40-minute video. Or you don't want to pay attention to a 40-minute video. So now they're throwing fire at him. So he's got no choice now. He's on a burning building, and he just jumps. I don't know why he didn't teleport, but whatever. So he just jumps, and wham, just starts fighting them all, and they're beating the crap out of him. And I don't think he could teleport yet. I don't think he was fully fleshed out yet. Oh, amigos. I had all of these. Oh, I just had so much fun with all of these. Smiling guy. Look who's smiling now. What is this for? Oh, LaSalle Extension University. So this is learn some stuff. So look, this guy's got a stake over here, right up at the top. They think he's a demon. And to be honest, Nightcrawler himself had doubts whether he had, human or demon for a long time. And at this point, keep in mind that their history is a blank slate. Chris Claremont later says that, he grew up in like a gypsy family, and Chris Claremont had a lot of things with gypsies and witches, because the same thing with Scarlet Witch and Max and Pedro, but so he and Magneto. So he grew up in with the gypsy family, and they were all witches, stuff like that. So he started to wonder, what did he have demon lineage? And it wasn't until I think it was X-Men Annual 3, a couple of years, probably about 10 years from now, with Doctor Strange as a guest star, where they actually use the Eye of Agamotto and find out that he's pure human, just a mutant. So here Xavier shows up, and just by this guy's expression, oh, they're not moving. So Xavier freezes everybody and saves Nightcrawler. So he always says don't use your power against the innocents, but they were about to murder Nightcrawler, so we'll give him. I'm not too fond of Xavier. Maybe one of these days I'll do like a little essay, the problems with Xavier, but that's I'll get into that someday. So now we move over to Quebec, Canada, and is Wolverine. He was working for Department H, which was like a high-level secret agent, military, whatever, like an NSA or CIA for Canada. I don't know if Department H is a real thing or not. I don't know. So he comes in, and he's telling him, I have an offer for you. You come work for me. You can be a free agent. And he's like, I don't have to jump through hoops and bureaucrats, stuff like that. And again, at the time, he was just a Canadian agent superhero named Wolverine. So just by this guy's face, I wonder if Xavier, it wouldn't be beyond him to mentally control people to get what he wants. I find him to be a hypocrite. So his boss is like, you can't just quit. I'll whatever. This isn't over. And he's like, oh yeah. and he cuts his tie off, tells him he's leaving. So here we have where are we now? Nashville, Tennessee. A visitor to the Grand Ole Opry finds he has a visitor of his own. So here's Banshee, just sitting down, enjoying some good old country music, and here comes Xavier. And based by his I guess he's on the island. Xavier came wheeling down, and he's like, "We got to talk." Now Banshee is older. He was an Interpol agent, so you know, the International European Police. I'm just taking a sip of coffee, everybody. I actually recorded this video last night after midnight, published it, put it up on a website, and then I was just laying in bed. I put it on, and you could just tell I was tired. It was just dull, monotone. So I was like, I got to delete this. So I did something I never did before. I actually deleted one of my videos and started over, because if this was your first video and you watched my original X-Men, Giant Size X-Men, you never would come back. So I had to delete it. So there you go. So here's a funny thing. Here's at the Grand Ole Opry. That's Len Wein, that's Glennis Wynn, and that's Dave Cockrum. Or maybe that's Len Wein and that's Dave Cockrum. But these are the... remember, I said in an early video, I don't know if you've seen it before, but usually when they do a close-up of background characters, the artist is usually doing a goof and putting in people that they know. But that's Glennis Wynn. I think that's Len Wein and Dave Cockrum. If I remember correctly, Dave Cockrum has the darker hair. So that's kind of fun, that they are characters in their own comic book. So now he's talking to Sean Cassidy. That's his name, Sean Cassidy. Keep in mind, this is he came out in the he debuted in the X-Men in the 60s, before Dave Cassidy was even Sean Cassidy was even a thing. So it's just unfortunately named Sean Cassidy. And every time I hear him say Sean Cassidy, I don't know if you youngins know what I'm talking about, but he was like a cheesy. He was like Justin. What's his name? Bieber. He was like whatever that guy's name, Bieber, Justin Bieber of the 70s. So here we go to Kenya, East Africa, and here's these people are going up to this temple, and they're bringing food and everything like that, and it's Storm. They don't really bring this up too much anymore, but she is, she's like 18, 19 years old, and Storm always has this like a regalness to her, so she always appears older, but she was supposed to be like a late teenager at this point. And I'm here, my children. What do you wish for me? So there's a drought. We'll give you everything will start. We'll give you 10 goats and chickens if you create some weather for us, Storm. So she saves your beast, my children. You'll need them more than I. And here she is. She's whipping up a storm. So she jumps up and she's flying around. Lightning, rain, everything that these people need, and they're all like, yay, yeah. And she comes down, and here's Xavier. Well, basically Storm's running around naked, and here comes Xavier. He goes, you know, I came here to ask you if you'd like to join my X-Men, help the world. She goes, because you're not a goddess, you're a mutant, and I think you know that. And she's just sitting there looking at him. And I always wondered, like, at this point Xavier is supposed to just be talking to him, but you know, they've since showed that Xavier is as a manipulative, tricky jerk. So I always, you know, if I was to just have it like he mentally nudged her. So she's okay. I want to see the world. I'll go with you. So never mind all the starving people and drought stuff like that she grew up with. And she grew up in Cairo. Well, she was born in Africa, and then she ended up in Cairo, where she became a lockpick, a thief, and she was like beat up and everything like that. And something happened that she was trapped. This is Chris Claremont, always fleshed out, but she was trapped in I think a building collapse or something like that. I forget the particulars, but she ended up being trapped, and she was freaking out. That's what he gave her the weakness of claustrophobia, and she just freaked out and exploded, and that's where her storm powers manifested in a moment of panic. And then she ended up coming down. Cairo was too crowded and stuff like that, so she came down here where it was less crowded and established that she was this Kenyan weather goddess. So there you go. And like I said, Chris Claremont's always adding little details. So here we go into Osaka, Japan. Two old acquaintances. So this is Shiro Yoshida, And this is Sunfire. So he's arrogant. He's wealthy. I think he owns like a business. He has ties to the Emperor because in later stories you see that his family has like loyal retainers and samurais and stuff like that. All things stereotypical Japan. That's, kung fu and stuff like that was big around this point. So here he puts on his costume and he's coming to join the X-Men. He goes, not to help you. He's very arrogant. He goes, look at what he says here. So I owe you nothing, Professor, but perhaps I owe something to myself. So I think he's just doing it out of boredom, out of a challenge. And here we go to Lake Baikal, Siberia. It's been a good year. So here we're going to the farm. Look at this. Look, Peter, your sister. So there's Colossus, looking huge. So he's a big guy even when he's not Colossus. Here's Stan's soapbox and the Bolton Bulletins. Like, this is in-house Marvel news. And this is Spider-Man in the Trap. Let's see. There's Spider-Man. Looks like he's fighting Jack Nicholson. And Jack Nicholson puts him in a cage. And he throws him in here. Oh, just shoot him. Shoot him with that machine gun because he's giving you fruit pies. No, fruit pies. Spider-Man, I'm very disappointed in you. We all know Twinkies. Fruit pies. Who eats that stuff? So here's, excuse me. Here's Colossus's little. As of now, she's unnamed, but it's already established that he has a little sister, little blonde sister. In the first appearance, she becomes Ilanya, who later becomes a. So they name her Ilanya later on, and she joins the New Mutants as Magic, and so she has the mutant ability to make up portals, and she could go in and out of limbo. And while she's in limbo, I think she's learning like magic from demons, stuff like that. And she finds a sword, and part of her arm is armored. And I always thought they were implying that she was going to grow armor like her brother, but that never happened. So here he goes running, and then whatever. This is the energy crackling, and then boom, he's Colossus. Smashes the tractor, and then he shows up and says, come on and help us. Let's help the world. And Peter's a good guy. He, out of all the X-Men, he's like the most kind-hearted, decent guy, corn-fed, he's equivalent of Clark Kent, living out in Smallville. So he's a little tortured. He doesn't want to leave his family. Colossus is supposed to be like 18 years old at this point. Never left his little farm in Siberia. So his family gives him his blessing, and he goes off to help the world. And here we go to Camp Verde, Arizona. Out of all these locations, this is the only place I've actually been to. John Proudstar. Oh, so he's John Proudstar, and then his brother is James. So he's running as fast as he's an Apache, and he's running up against the bison or buffalo. I don't know the difference. And he goes and catches it, grabs it by the horn. So he's displaying his super speed, super strength. So he is like a physically big guy with super strength, super endurance, super agility. So he's got like the standard array of powers. He just can't fly or anything like that. But he also has super senses and tracking. So out of all of them, him and Wolverine like overlap the most. So here Xavier just shows up, and he's like, I don't know the white man, anything, blah blah blah. And he's like, but we need you. You're a mutant. We could help you and stuff like that. And he goes, and you could stuff a cactus, Custer. White man needs me. That's tough. I owe him nothing but grief. So now beat it. So he's like, okay, I didn't realize you were scared. I didn't know you were a coward. He's like, coward. I'll do that. And there he goes. So I always wondered, did Xavier mentally mess with him? Oh, so here's a second splash page for chapter 2. And here we got the X-Men. All in costume for the first time. Just glorious. Just glorious. So here we got Wolverine, Sunfire, Banshee, Colossus, Storm, Thunderbird, and Nightcrawler. And there's Xavier over here. I just love that. That is just so good. I mean, Dave Cockrum, he could just design a costume. I always thought like him and Steve Ditko could just design. And now they're debuting Cyclops with his new visor. So he's taken over the going to lead the team, and he's setting up on the mission parameters. Oh, these are the gutters. For those of you I figure this video might bring in some new viewers for the first time. So, and I like that because they're trying to highlight the new goggles, so they put it over the gutter so your eye is really drawn to them. What a great panel that is. Look at I just love this. Okay, Count Dante, the deadliest man alive. Count Dante. I actually Googled him. He was a real guy. He had a karate school. He got in trouble with the law. Uh, tried to become like a famous like Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris, and never quite happened. So Cyclops is explaining that the old X-Men. Now, keep in mind the X-Men haven't been in publication for a couple of years at this point, so they were gone. Excuse me. It was during this point. Notice that the Beast isn't there. Why? Because the Beast is in the X-Men. I mean, the Beast is in the Avengers at this point, and Marvel really cared about continuity and stuff like that back then. So it would be hard to explain how the Beast went on this mission and disappeared when he's prominently in the Avengers. So these are all the, he joined. Yeah, I was about to say something wrong. I was going to say that Iceman and Angel are there, even though they're in the Champions. But the Champions is in a couple of months. So the Champions is after this comic. So forget I even thought that. And if I did say it, you wouldn't have known. So here's the old X-Men. What they did is they're using Cerebro, and they found a powerful mutant. So beep 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 beep. It's glowing. This guy's power is off the scale. Well, who are these two? That's Havoc. That's Alex Summers. That's Cyclops' brother. And he has the same power of Cyclops. He could project force beams, but he could project them from anywhere in his body. But his weakness is even more severe, is that if without this suit to contain his energy, he would just constantly be exploding with energy and wrecking stuff. And Chris Claremont later develops this, and that's one of the reasons why I love Chris Claremont as a writer. But the Summers brothers, they were on a plane. Their parents owned airline shipping company that went from like Juneau, Alaska to like Seattle and Portland, stuff like that. So it would ship stuff back and forth. And it caught on fire, and it later was, of course, two aliens. It was a Shar and I think a Skrull came, and they were like dogfighting in the air, and their ship got caught as collateral damage, and it went on fire. And like professional aviators, they only had one parachute, so they had 4 people, 1 parachute. So they put the parachute on Scott, and Scott holds Alex, and they push him out. And they're little kids at this point, and they go out of the burning airplane, and the parachute's also on fire, and the parachute burns a little bit, so that puts a hole in it. They land a little too hard, and they clunk, and I think he lets go of Alex at one point. So he got severely injured. And they're saying that injury is what makes it so that they can't control their abilities. So there you go. And then, of course, the good aliens, the Shi'ar, they went and swooped in and saved the airplane and took Christopher Summers, and I forget the mother's name, and brought them into space rather than let them go on the planet. And he became Corsair, the leader of the Starjammers. So there you go. And the Starjammers was a complete Dave Cockrum invention. Another group of wonderfully designed, great to look at superheroes. They're space pirate superheroes, because Star Wars was big at this point. So they had to tie everything together. And who is this? This green-haired girl? That's Lorna Dane. She's Polaris. She has magnetic powers, and she's another mutant that they found and had joined the X-Men. They're like 2 lesser-known old X-Men. They were less. There was another one called the Mimic, whose power was he could copy anybody, but he kind of turned into a jerk, so he's not around. So these are the newest old X-Men. So we got to go. We're going to go find this new mutant before Magneto does. This guy's super powerful. So they take their plane and they fly off. His old visor, the old team, except for the Beast, because he's in the Avengers. Keep in mind, this never happened in a comic book, because the X-Men was in reprints at the time. So this is just filling in some of the old stuff. So they go into this island of Krakoa in the somewhere in the Pacific. I don't know exactly, but it's like some Polynesian, I think, or maybe it's off the coast of Java or something like that. So they land, and what's going on? Look behind it. And then I'm ashamed to say I never even saw what hit us. So they land on the island and they instantly get defeated because of plot. And he wakes up in the plane, costume and tattered. And where's my visor? Where's my visor? He opens his eyes. They're normal. I wouldn't call that normal there. You need a tub of Visine with that, but he's powerless. What happened to my... I have no powers. He goes, whatever. So he takes the plane and he flies back. And Professor, I'm back. Where are the others? He's like, what happened to them? He's like, I don't know. They got captured. We got to, I ran away like a coward. I'm powerless. Can you blame him? All his life he's been worried about his optic blast, killing people and stuff like that. So now, and he relies on it, and they're all defeated. He doesn't know what happened, and he has no powers. He kind of freaks out and flies home like a true superhero. And now his powers are coming back. Oh, geez. So he wasn't ready for this, so the force propels him backwards, and he's just wrecking stuff, getting thrown backwards. So Xavier mentally calms him down. He redesigns a new goggles for him, which are pretty cool looking. Dave Cockrum's good at design. And he said, we got to go save them. And Sunfire's like, you're going to save them. I'm not going to save them. This sounds tough. You're going to some mysterious island. Everybody got defeated and you don't even know. And he's like, come on. Well, this evil mutant. Oh, there's a mutant there. They could be in trouble. He's like, all right, go ahead. I'm not going to argue with you. And then they're going back. So here they are flying back. And as they're leaving, they're like, I can't believe that coward. And here he comes flying. He goes, are you going to open up a hatch, or do I have to fly to Krakow all by myself? So he had a change of heart. And that's typical Sunfire. So he gets in, and so the prodigal mutant returns. Why did you change your mind, Sunfire? Afraid to go home alone? Because my reasons are nobody's business but my own, misfit. And you'll do well to remember that. So they're ribbing him, and he doesn't like to be ribbed. Okay, this is 26 minutes. I'll talk about the Assault Force, Chapter 3, in the next video, because this is long, and I want to give it the respect it deserves, given its place in comic book history. All right, so I'll stop here, and I'll do the next video tomorrow. Giant-sized X-Men #1, first appearance of the X-Men. And I'll give you some more thoughts about the X-Men in general. Hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. This is a lot of fun for me. If you can, try to shout out my channel to other people, get other people, if everybody watching, I'm not getting too many views, but I'm doing it because it's fun, but it would be more fun if I had more views and more engagement with the people. But thanks a lot. Bye-bye.